with the substantive changes proposed in July by a council member, which garnered a massive response throughout the community. Now we'll look at sports. Here's Joe Berg.
Major League Baseball has placed Rays star shortstop Wander Franco on administrative leave. Franco is accused of being in a relationship with an underage girl. He is not expected to be back until the MLB and the Dominican Republic both finish their investigations. Tomorrow, PGA Tour action from the Tour Championship tees off. And tonight, Inter Miami takes on Cincinnati in the Opens Cup semifinals.
WSIC weather, sunny with a high of 86 today, clear tonight with a low of 65, sunshine again tomorrow with a high of 92, clear Thursday night with a low of 70, then sunny and hot Friday with a high of 98. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
You have still got the music going. Well, welcome everybody to The Good, the Bad, and Guilty. Sheriff Darren Campbell here, also with Matt Burleson today. And I've got a couple guests. Holly, which we'll introduce her, and Randy, and both of them is with our crime scene unit. And, thank y'all for coming today. And before we get started and introduce y'all too much, I do want to let all of our callers, if you have any chance, call us at 704-873-1400 or tune in at 100.7 FM and 105.9 FM for all other Bills around. And Randy, if you don't know, that's all them south, like Huntersville and Mooresville.
I've heard that.
So anyway, but I'm glad. I missed last week. Matt, I hope we get some callers, because if not, I believe you run them all off.
We had a good call last week. We had a good caller. Yep, led into good information to share. So we'll see what happens today.
How good? What was it about? Do you remember?
So
I didn't get to listen.
It was someone was trying to keep their parent from buying or selling something on Facebook Marketplace. Last week we talked a lot about the scams and things. You had your special victims unit here, and that was one of the questions a guy called it. How do I convince my mom or dad not to sell that or buy that on Facebook Marketplace?
Really, it's kind of fun. We had not even discussed this prior to, and I had somebody this morning call me about the same thing you'll see on your friends when you look at Facebook, listing an item for sale. Well, sometimes, if you notice those same ones, those are the ones that get hacked a lot. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with selling, but that is a playground for those that want to scam people and everything of that nature. So, and everybody wants to liquidate. It's great technology and Facebook and Marketplace and all the other Craigslist, if they even use that anymore. I don't even know. I hadn't seen that forever, but it's so easy.
About these guys being crime scene investigators, you got to do some investigation work. I mean, you check out their Facebook profiles. If it's too good to be true, definitely it's not. But you'll find they'll take those pictures. I remember I'm looking for a camper. They'll take a picture and it'll be the same one that's used in several different places. And
it's so easy for somebody to hack your social media. And that's a whole nother subject we weren't even going to. But goodness gracious, if you ever get hacked trying to get it. And I'll tell you a funny story. Matt will know. Whenever I got elected, Phil Redmond was the old sheriff. Well, that's what it was listed under. I had to show him proof, copy of the elections, and they still didn't change it.
Yeah, you had to take ownership of the Facebook page because it was Sheriff Redmond, it was Iredell Sheriff, and with all those, thousands, 30,000, 50,000, it's thousands of followers,
and it's still up. So if you ever look at that's known. We cannot. We tried to get it to come down, and now we have somebody we have tried forever in all sorts of cases. We can never get a live person to answer the phone at Facebook. So. Joe, if you ever need to call Facebook, you better just send them an email, because they're not going to answer the phone. So, but anyway, moving on. Once again, if you want to call, 704-873-1400. It don't have to be specifically about what we're speaking of.
Or on Facebook. I'm looking at the comments.
There you go.
Yep.
So if you got them, I don't have mine up, so if you got any comments when you respond to, Matt, just let us know.
Yes, sir.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about crime scene investigation. I think we had some other things planned, David, and this really don't go with what normally you and Holly would do, but the big news was, and I was telling Matthew before yesterday, with the home exploded and individual lost his life, and we'll think about his families and things. But that is a perfect crime scene, even though that was the fire marshals, and we're going to participate and help them with it. But the stuff y'all do can be anything from that to child deaths to scams to break-ins at homes to murders, homicide. We're fixing to release some information, I think, tomorrow on a 3-year-old homicide that I don't even think you know about that yet.
I believe so.
We have drew warrants on a 3-year-old homicide, and a lot of it is from evidence that we recovered either digitally or forensically. So Randy, I guess you've got about 10. I think you and Holly Eldridge I meant to say, Holly, your last name there, and Randy Horton, if I didn't. Randy's our captain. Holly's our crime scene investigator. And Holly, you've been I know you was with us, and you've been with us now about 10 years, but you have recently, I don't know what motivates you, but you here for the last 2 or 3 years, you've been in crime scene?
Just for the past year.
So why did you want to come to crime scene?
That was what I was interested in when I started out, actually. That's how I ended up at the sheriff's office and started considering this career of law enforcement was to make it here.
I bet you didn't know you was going to have to work with somebody like Randy, though, did you?
No, but I am very privileged to get to do so.
All right, real quick. Randy, I know you
Her eval must be due.
We got about, I know, you must be due. We got about 5 minutes to our first break, but let's get the introduction. Sort of crime scene and how you work with narcotics, do investigations with alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, our district attorney's office, all sorts of different agencies and
We do.
groups that we work with.
Not only do we provide the services here, obviously, for the sheriff's office, but the other municipalities here within Iredell County, sometimes for fingerprints and other various testing over in our unit. Mooresville PD, Troutman, Statesville, different ones will bring us stuff to work on and work on actual physical evidence. Recently, I'd say in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've worked cases for Baptist Hospital and the chief medical examiner, North Carolina alcohol law enforcement, surrounding agencies. Yadkin County, they had a body that they couldn't identify that we were able to identify with palm prints and fingerprints that was found in the river.
Well, I think a cool thing about crime scene investigations and a lab, and I still do call it a lab in my opinion, because we do a lot of tool marks, trajectories, and shootings. There's a lot of fingerprint analysis that you mentioned, and there's a big, and we'll get in a little bit of the certification, why it's important to have that capability here, but this started, probably 10 or 11 years ago, prior to me being elected with a lab with a full-fledged chemist and
Correct.
that's doing alcohol and drug testing. It got to be where that was such a hindrance, I guess. So we have sort of got into the meat of the bones, and there used to be a term I like to use for it, but basically it's our bread and butter is break-ins, violent crimes, and we're in-house. We can do that, and it's not. I don't want to badmouth the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation because they're a great agency, but we were waiting on evidence up to a year and a half, and our citizens.
Correct.
And the whole time we were waiting on that evidence, mostly these individuals, which we talk about career repeat offenders, were out reoffending at the same time. So we can get turned around in about 15 days with you all.
Well,
and sometimes sooner. That's
that, and also we have a private lab that is much more cost-effective that we use now for some of the things we can't do in-house.
Which is our drug chemistry and our things
Correct.
like that.
And we've had cases, I guess probably the quickest one since I've been here, probably from the time the house break-in occurred to me being on scene, gathering the prints, coming back, being able to run them within the state database, get an ID, get it confirmed by another certified examiner, and draw warrants. We had the entire thing solved, warrants drawn, and looking for the individual with arrest warrants in under 4 hours.
That was my first case in CID.
Okay, and I know we got to take a break, but that's even better. So that was as an investigator, you were able to depend on the lab to solve your crime where you would have had to wait forever. And I guess the real point we're going to is how this benefits the citizens and how lucky we all are if we're a victim to have this capability here locally.
Yeah, it's really good to have. We can start evaluating things and get the ball rolling on getting criminals identified faster than we would if we were in any other shape.
Well, and everybody, I think, wants their crime solved as fast as we can, and we do this service for Mooresville, Troutman. Anybody really that would come ask us, we are not going to charge them for this service. So if anybody's, the ability is there to have this, basically certified, Randy, y'all are, and at one point accredited in a lab that's able to work with the district attorneys and present your opinion on a stand.
Correct. Able to testify as an expert witness, which is a huge difference.
Well, Sheriff, I was going to use one of your terminologies when you talk about the criminal justice system. It's not called the victim justice system, where that's the thing. So you've got this victim, the home break-in. They've got property out there. Who knows where it's going to end up? Whose hands it's going to be in? And with this justice that you're able to get for them by getting the bad guy, finding out who that bad guy is, maybe getting the property returned, being able to do that as well. So it's quick to be able to find that information.
And we've got a district attorney, I think, that's been supportive of y'all, that allows you to come in and testify as an expert. I mean, you had to get that.
Oh, certainly.
So it's good that we have, and I just think a lot of people don't understand the capability that we have here locally.
I actually testify occasionally, several times recently, as an expert in cases that weren't ours for actually other agencies.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in about 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll see you here in just a few minutes.
There's more of the good, the bad, and the guilty with Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell on the way from the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Asheville native Kanan Cox will be performing at Kane Center for the Arts Friday, August 25th. Show starts at 8 p.m. Kane Center for the Arts 2024 Fall Season. Buy your tickets now at kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Happy birthday, Huntersville! Celebrate Huntersville's 150th birthday this Saturday. Primal in Huntersville will have live music, food trucks, and special deals all day on August 26th. Huntersville is 150 years old, and you should celebrate at Primal off of Highway 115 in Huntersville. It is one of the last couple of weeks to enjoy open swim at the Kerrigan Farms Quarry. Thursday, August 31st is the end of the swim season at Kerrigan Farms Quarry. Swim up an appetite with the whole family and enjoy Kerrigan Farms Farm-to-Table Restaurant. Kerrigan Farms open swim at the quarry. Enjoy it before the end of August. Love cycling? Love supporting veterans? Purple Heart Homes presents Take That Hill. Sign-ups are open now. The event is Saturday, October 7th. It is a great way to support a local organization focused on veterans. Take That Hill, presented by Purple Heart Homes. For more info, visit bikesignup.com. Eli Yacinth Band is playing this Friday, August 25th at the Upper Room in downtown Statesville. Enjoy a great show with a full 9-person band. Have a full night of jazz music with the Eli Yacinth Band, Friday night at the Upper Room in downtown Statesville. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
I'm Nick Rice with your WSIC forecast. As we head through the rest of the afternoon, it's going to stay sunny with a high in the mid-80s. Tonight, mostly clear, low of 65. On Thursday, it's going to be sunny with a high of 92. Thursday night, partly cloudy, low around 70. On Friday, it's going to be sunny and hot with a high of 95 expected. I'm Nick Rice from WSIC's Weather Center.
Hi, this is Susan. I'm excited to let you know that Lake Mountain Coffee is now available for private events. Our beautiful historic building with its 360-degree mezzanine has hosted many private parties, catered diners, and even an actual wedding. Please contact Andy at 704-252-1886 for more information. Thank you so much.
The good, the bad, and the guilty continues now. Here's your host, Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell, 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Bad boys, what you want, what you want, what you gonna do? When Sheriff John Brown comes.
Welcome back in studio here at WSIC, the good, the bad, and the guilty. We just heard a new tune there, Sheriff, right?
No, we have heard it before, but now I got a question. I don't know if y'all watched, and we'll see if you really pay attention to the show, because I believe Joe had on her 2 shows ago, because I wasn't here last week for work. Do you know who sings that song, the name of the group? Okay, time's up. Randy, do you know? Okay,
something
Randy.
Men, Bahama Men.
No,
or
it's not.
something.
That's Boys to Men. No.
Not Boys to Men, no.
Whatever. Do you know, Holly?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Inner Circle.
Inner Circle.
No, I didn't know that. Wow. Of course, I mean, hips don't lie. You've got quite a few.
Shakira.
Shakira,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say, you know quite a few of those songs that are out there. So that it's not the Soggy Bottom Boys. What's your mother? Georgia Boys.
I like. Yeah, y'all been hearing my music. I got a weird playlist, but I even like Johnny Cash. But either way, Justin's probably listening to us and going to kill us. So we better get back on
back
topic.
to speaking of radio, guys. You can tune in on 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM. Call us here in studio at 704-873-1400. That's 873-1400. And thank you guys for checking us out on Facebook. Pastor Carl Mitchell, Sheriff, has checked in with us. Says good afternoon, folks, and praying for all our law enforcement. Thank
Good
you,
evening, Pastor. Glad to see you on there.
And we are here, in case you're just tuning in, with Sheriff Darren Campbell, our host of the Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. We've got Captain Randy Horton from our Crime Scene Investigation Unit, and one of his unit members, newest member to the unit, is Miss Holly Eldridge. I see another member's on Facebook watching, Brian Nichols. Thank you for tuning in. He didn't want to miss nothing the boss had to say.
See, I'm trying to figure out, how do you see who's watching? All it shows a little.
If you're friends with them, it'll show on here.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to watch no more.
They know you're watching.
Really?
Yes.
I thought that was like anonymous and stuff.
No,
I'm just
apparently
kidding.
not.
I don't get it. Usually, if I do, it's replays if I get a chance to watch.
Just make sure you're the sheriff. Remember the Facebook? You just talked about the ownership of the sheriff.
Yes.
You've got that other page. It could be Sheriff Redmond. Could be Sheriff Campbell.
You know what? I don't think we have access to the old page anymore.
Probably
I don't even
not.
know what the password would be.
Don't mention that. That's going to be you mention the passwords now. It's going to make me nervous. I might have to come up with it. So, guys, before the break, we were talking about some of the important work that you guys do in property crimes. And, Sheriff, you can help me with the numbers, but I know that we are experiencing, since you've been in office, a 48% reduction in property crime, but I just heard it's 58%. I mean, those crime rates are dropping because of the solving those crimes. Yep.
Well, and it's all of us. It's not just me. It's everybody at the sheriff's office. But right now, if we're going to release those numbers, it's looking like almost, maybe a little bit over, almost a 60% reduction in overall crime in 8 years in our. That's about our uniform crime reporting numbers, and that's numbers from the SBI and the FBI. That's not us. That is actually our report card from the government. Right. So hats off to everybody.
And that's just what. We got a caller on the line. Outstanding. Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Guilty. Caller, go ahead.
Hey there. Good morning or good afternoon. Just wanted to check and see what the ruling is for trespassing in North Carolina, I guess Iredell County specifically. I have a no trespassing sign. I kind of live out in the countryside and have a no trespassing sign. I had an incident a few months ago where some gentlemen that were being chased by the law were on foot and approached my property and were trying to encourage me to take payment for letting them hide out on my property. And so I immediately told them to leave. Didn't have my gun on me right at that moment. I was kind of not really expecting anybody to walk up.
Yeah.
And but obviously I did notify 911, and then, they had immediately came out with K-9 units and they were able to catch these guys. But what is the ruling for trespassing laws?
Okay, so that's a great question, caller, and you've got a couple of things going on there. And the first question I heard you ask was, what's the difference in North Carolina and our trespassing laws? So the highest degree of trespassing is considered first degree. A first degree trespassing is when a reasonable person would know that no one belongs on that property. Take, for instance, a locked gate, a fence with barbed wire around the top.
And man, I'll give a great example of that. Everybody's listen. Lookout Shoals, what they used to call the Rock at the lake, where you trespass. That is a first-degree trespassing and conviction in court. So.
And it doesn't matter, caller, if your sign says no trespassing or any sign at all. The sign does not denote the first-degree trespassing. That just, an area that would keep other ones out. Now, sticking a sign that says no trespassing in your front yard and your yard's wide open, that sign is just decoration. It doesn't really mean anything. So second-degree trespassing, caller, is what you had. That is when a person comes upon your property, whatever reason they may be there, they got there. Now that they're there, you don't want them there anymore, so you tell them to leave. If they refuse to leave, that is a second-degree trespassing charge. You are the victim in in that situation, and you can charge them. And this can be the same as going on to shoplifting or any type of what am I looking for here? Business.
Where you've
property.
been
They've been
basically
asked to leave or
banned.
been
Exactly.
trespassed. Or,
Yep.
Correct.
So as the property owner.
And I think, Matt, an important thing with that is it's not something we can be there and witness you telling them refusing, but if you've told them prior to us getting there, that is something that we will help you, we'll assist you in getting warrants or a summons. But it's not something we witness, so you would have to testify, so we encourage you and assist you in going to the magistrate.
And thanks, Sheriff. That's exactly right. That's why I mentioned that would be you were the victim. In that first degree charge, a lot of times property owners have asked us to act as agents. Areas that are locked down or closed up, and they can say, there's no one trespassing, and this is, now the sheriff's office has got authorization to act as agent. That way we can charge on your behalf.
And we actually have the paperwork for that.
Right.
Complete.
Just come, yeah. There's
So,
forms that
caller,
you
did
can
that sort of answer your question?
Yeah, that does. Yeah, I appreciate y'all's information.
And you did say one thing, and always remember this, and you always have the right to protect your home, your inside of your home, your family, and if somebody comes in and tries to force you to do anything inside your home that you don't, you gotta make that decision, protect yourself and your family.
Yep.
Okay?
Right.
And
So, this was like right outside my front door, like in my driveway. So, does North Carolina have like a stand your ground policy? So if they were, didn't want to leave my property after I kind of firmly told them to do so, would I have the right then to, if I felt threatened, I would have the right to defend myself in that case?
Well, you said North Carolina doesn't have a per se stand your ground and things like that, but when you say the things, if you feel threatened, somebody trying, there's a lot of difference from a business, inside of a car and home invasion, and a car, that there's certain times that the presumptions are taken away that used to be where the law sort of has changed. But if somebody's trying to force their way into your house, especially with the use of a deadly weapon or somewhere that you may feel threatened or, from great bodily injury or a deadly weapon, you obviously have the right to protect yourself, and that's easily researchable. Just depends on your situation. You have to be able to articulate what happened, if that answers your question. Okay?
Yep.
Hey, buddy.
Thanks
Thank you for calling. We appreciate it. Thank you for calling on the chase itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, call that stuff in. We appreciate you calling about that.
Glad we called them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I like that. Some of the use of those canines. We need to bring them on the show sometimes. That's good work. All right, yeah, callers, 873-1400. Those are great questions. We get a lot of information out of that and help you guys out. Speaking of information, we have the app. That's very important that you guys have the app. On the app, you can report quite a bit of crime, incidences that happen, requests for calls for service, some of the things that we're doing coming up in the community. All that stuff we'll talk about after our last break when I've got the news releases here. But I digress. Back to what we were talking about. We were talking about the property crimes. Sheriff, you'd mentioned the rates that stuff has gone down, and it's that continued customer service that you're able to give that victim and the victim service. The being able to start to finish. You said creating that a smaller time gap to where we get them in court, get their property back, and get them justice for that. So.
Correct. Anytime you're waiting, when you're waiting for those that we talked about, maybe sending to the state lab or anything else, while that wait's going on, it's very likely that same criminal is still committing crime.
Absolutely.
He's not sitting back waiting on the results to come back from the lab.
And that's one of the big things we talked about. And Holly, going to your side, I guess you worked investigations and you worked patrol. You understand. Give us your average day. Well, maybe not average day, but a busy day in crime scene investigations. And, from maybe a homicide, it may be a break-in, it may be y'all also process a lot of our, I don't like to use the word suicide.
I was thinking the same thing.
Self-inflicted crime scenes that we steal for the family. We do investigate those. So sort of your schedule, and I know we haven't got a lot. We'll come back a little bit in the break, but sort of what's a day like? Anybody? Because there's a lot of people asked about crime scene investigation.
Yeah. All of those investigations, they take a good amount of time, and it's time that we like to utilize to be able to do a thorough investigation to get as much information as we can. If we can gather enough evidence that helps kind of put the picture together, that helps the detectives, and I understand that being on both sides of it as a detective first and then as a crime scene investigator, being able to use that information to either close out a case, get to a resolution as soon as possible, or do the damage control as far as reassuring victims and things like that, and nothing reassures them better than getting a criminal locked up whenever you can get that done.
I think that's great, and I think not only that we don't just write things off. We're going to do it for the family. You know, we want to give them closure that every one of these calls are important to us, and that's one reason we keep the lab going and we keep the crime scene investigation going, because they deserve that. No matter if it's a break-in, because some people, you know this from the investigation side, and Randy, you know it from your side too, that a break-in, we can sit here and talk about break-ins all day. We can read the press release, but unless you've been violated like that, somebody's broke in and stole your possessions in your room or in your home, I mean, that's a traumatic thing for people to go through.
It's hard for them to go through, and even the situation where the self-inflicted, if somebody's hurt, it's hard for them to go through that. But for seeing professionals such as you guys coming in with your kits, fingerprint kits, with your evidence bags, your plastic paper, you know, everything that you're taking in, but you're trained to be able to do so, that's giving some comfort to that victim. So I think that makes a big difference.
We're going to take another quick break. Well, kind of our medium-long break. Yeah, we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys,
with Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell will return after this short break on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
I'm Mike Jackson, WSIC News. The Mooresville Tribune reporting that volunteers from all over the Lake Norman community are flocking to a church basement every week to help the Bridge of Hearts nonprofit in providing birthday joy and hygiene products to impoverished school children. As the school year gets underway in both Iredell and North Mecklenburg counties, it is members of the North Meck Women's Club who have played a major role in spreading the love. And a North Carolina state representative requested yesterday that prosecutors investigate House Speaker Tim Moore on possible charges of embezzlement, bribery, and misconduct in public office. In response, Wake County DA Lauren Freeman said last night she sees no basis for a case against Moore. Now sports with Joe Berg.
Wander Franco has been placed on administrative leave by the MLB. And tonight, Inter Miami takes on Cincinnati in the U.S. Opens Cup semifinals.
WSIC weather, sunny today with a high of 86. It'll be clear tonight with a low down to 65, then sunny Thursday with a high of 92. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
Maybe it's time that someone told you there is a God and He loves you. The Bible says that we're cut off from our connection with God. Our problems with relationships come from not having a relationship with Him. Our struggles with addiction come from trying to fill the void that only He can fill. We lie because we're running from the one who always tells the truth. We're lonely because He wants to commune with us, but we push Him away. You see, all these things and much more are not the real problem. They're just symptoms. The real problem is that we were created to live in a relationship with God. So how does a person find that relationship? According to the Bible, we are born with that relationship to Him broken. But He loves us and wants to restore that communion, and He's already provided a solution in the person of Jesus Christ. Are you ready to experience life to the fullest? Jesus said, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." 90and9.org.
Visit 90and9.org. NinetyandNine.org. 90and9.org.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. And visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Join Oswald Baptist Church Sunday morning at 10 here on WSIC.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
This is Fred Lowry at Lowry Drug. We now have our own brand of full-spectrum hemp extract, also known as CBD oil. I personally manage this product as it was grown on my farm here in Iredell County. It was then processed and bottled here in Statesville. This is a true herbal extract with all the medicinal components intact. A product you can trust to be authentic. And since there is no wholesaler, it's at a price you can afford. Try it at Lowry Drug on Hartness Road in Statesville.
Now more of the good, the bad, and the guilty with Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to the good, the bad, and the guilty. If you would, hey, give us a call, 704-873-1400 if you have a question, or listen to us 100.7 or 105.9 FM. And we'll come back and we're talking about crime scene stuff or Facebook. Matthew's watching the comments, so if you'd like to send us a comment.
Hey, Sissy Adelia. Good to talk to
Sissy,
you.
she's on there.
Mm-hmm. She said, good to hear the latest news from her ICSO today.
Hey, it's great. It's only going to get better here before we wrap up. But listen, I was going to say, we was talking crime scene, and this is probably a little bit of our longest break, Joe, I think. No, I've still got another one. But okay, we're going to try to get. But a lot of people hear crime scene. It's not, one thing I want to say, is not like what we see on TV. Okay?
Nothing is like you see it on TV.
And I do think, and I will tell anybody, and I think you will probably agree with me, anybody that works in crime scene has some kind of warped personality anyway. I don't mean that in a bad way, but whenever I worked investigation or work road, I am glad when y'all showed up.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things people can't handle on a crime scene.
Okay, I can handle it. I just want to be a part of it. But there's a lot of stuff we don't think about. We do think of you hate to say it, the gory crimes, because there are some bad crime scenes that some people may have got lost. You may be in a car. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. But one of the things that really you don't think of a lot, but we do see not a lot of, we see our fair share, is young adults, child deaths, and even infant deaths that has to be investigated. Just this week, we had we talk about teen, and even this is preteen, suicide that we've dealt with. This is an 11-year-old. It's sad. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
But the patrol guys see it. But the patrol guys, they also have better calls, good calls. And I'm not saying y'all don't, but you as crime scene investigators, most of your calls are the bad calls. Correct?
Quite a few.
So that's sort of what I was going to say.
One thing I'd like to say, Sheriff, is that your crime scene investigators are sworn officers. Correct. When you go to other agencies, let's say those are civilian folks, and here these guys can do it all. So, hey, caller on the line there. Go ahead. Thanks for calling in. The good, the bad, and the guilty.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, you're on Good, the Bad, and the Guilty.
Yeah, I had a question about fingerprints. I was wondering what all sorts of surfaces, materials can you actually get fingerprints off of?
Well,
he has called the right place, Randy.
Because
Randy is our expert.
I am a certified latent print examiner.
So caller, if you will see us in about a month when we have the Citizens Academy, you'll have an opportunity yourself to lift fingerprints by some of these folks. So yep.
But Randy, can you answer sort of?
Sure. The simple version of that is the smoother, slicker, shinier the surface, the better. If it's a rough, porous texture, something like a wood grain,
a rock,
or a car dash that's textured, anything like that is going to be very difficult. Now we have chemicals, we have a lot of other things that we can use besides just the plain old black powder that you've always seen on TV when they're over there dusting for fingerprints. And there's a lot of specialty things that we can do back in the lab that we cannot do out in the field. But the general version, simple version is smooth is good, rough is bad.
And wet and weather and other things like that can also suffer as well. So,
for sure.
I've seen you, was it Sergeant Nichols, that used to use or maybe you, the trays that you get from McDonald's or.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the little plastic hoods.
Oh, yeah.
Put over evidence out.
And you even use human chambers, I think, on a lot of tools and things.
Oh, yeah, we do all that in the
So-
lab. We super glue it. We have to treat it with chemicals. There's a long list
So
of
caller,
things.
sort of, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. I was like, just a follow up, if I could.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Sure.
So, how long? I mean, yeah, from watching TV, I understand it's like oils on your hands and whatnot. But how long does this last, where you can actually pick up something that's usable?
I really can't give you an exact answer because there's so many variables that go into that. A fingerprint is about 98% water. There's oils, amino acids, salts, sebaceous fluid. There's all kinds of stuff in there, but 98% of it's water. As we all know, if water just sits out, it evaporates. So it's gone in a matter of time. But heat, humidity, it's just going to depend. Obviously, the sooner we can get there, based on the time that it was left, the better our chances. But there are certain types of fingerprints that will, for example, like into paper, the amino acids in your fingers into a piece of paper may soak in there and may be able to pull it up months later. There may be some kind that are, placed in there and it's gone 10 minutes later. It's really difficult to say. I've had to testify to this on the stand before as an expert, even recently. It was hours. You can go into hours of testimony on how long they'll stick around. So it varies greatly depending on a whole bunch of variables.
Well, caller, I'd like to say that it's important that you report the crimes. I'm just thinking in my mind about car break-ins, and we'll see several cars get broken into along a street, and maybe nothing was taken, and so the victim says, "Oh well, I didn't lose anything. It's no big deal." But that bad guy might have left some prints on that vehicle, and I've seen patrol officers you guys bring car doors in to be fingerprinted. Maybe not in that particular case. It just depends. But
we can always do more back at the lab than we can out on a scene. Right. So if we can seize it and take it with us, a lot of times if it's something portable, we'll grab it and take it with us because our chances will improve.
So caller, thank you for calling in. We appreciate the question. Hope that answered sort of what you was asking us.
Yeah, y'all do a great job. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.
Hey, buddy, stay safe. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Jeanette Watkins said, "This is always an informative show. Thank you, Sheriff, Captain Matt, and everyone else."
Jeanette, good evening. Yeah. Glad you joined in.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing we were talking about earlier with the crime reduction here, one thing I noticed, having come from another agency where I worked in someplace else for many years, some of the large metropolitan agencies, which obviously they have, far more crime, but they may not actually respond to every single call or respond to every type of call. They may take the report by phone. And if they take that report by phone, it's mainly a lot of times for insurance purposes or so that a report exists. When I came here, I was kind of surprised by...
You didn't know you was going to have to work that hard, did you?
Yeah, by the fact of how many crimes, particularly property crimes, get assigned to an actual detective to follow up and make sure all the leads are exhausted. And I think that's one of the reasons that you do see such a reduction here in crime versus some of the other populous counties here in North Carolina, is because we do assign so many things and put so much time into it.
Well, I think the bad guys see that, and they recognize that too, and that makes them, it's unprofitable, nor is it beneficial for them to commit crime here in Iredell. And Holly, you're on the investigator side of that also, so you see how that works. And when you crime scene, I told you whenever you went over there, I said, you're going to be responding to a lot of calls. How many times are you on call over weekends?
A couple times a month. It usually rolls around.
There's only 4 of them in a month. So that's 50% of the time.
Exactly right. Yep, that adds up.
So, and you pretty much get called out all the time to work right alongside with our patrol guys.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the detectives.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? And a lot of times y'all may be getting involved with, we also do digital forensic, which we had Brooks in here a while back, but also active threats we may have on phones or, pictures that we need to get off phones. Y'all still collect that stuff and sometimes even go out to a store where there's break-ins, videos and stuff.
Well, and another unique thing that callers listeners may not realize is when you watch that CSI show that's solved in 40 minutes, that person, that detective or agent, with the badge and a gun like you guys have, they question witnesses. They go out in the field and they get all this.
They do it all.
They do it all. But you guys here, I mean, there's a lot of great investigators, trained detectives in interview techniques. But you guys are here for the evidence, the hard.
Our job is physical evidence.
Right. So I remember before, teaching classes, talking with you at some community groups, Holly, is that, you let the evidence talk to you. Instead of having a person talk to you like a detective would, you're letting the evidence speak to you is what you might, gather.
We've seen the phrases before, and they're like little catchphrases you see on hats and T-shirts and things like that. It says, people lie, evidence doesn't.
Back in the old day, if you read through a lot of old case files, even 50s, 60s, and 70s that we see, that's exactly the opposite of what they did then. They wanted the victim to fit the theory of what they thought and could prove. It's not what the evidence showed. And that's the reason now you see a lot of, and also the advancement in technology and DNA and things like that. But, things like that has made crime scene a very lucrative business in law enforcement. And I know that Bill.
That's true.
It is. It's very lucrative. One is the amount of training it takes, and you're one of how many on your level. I'm going to let your head swell up for just a little bit.
Goodness.
So on your level, you're a crime scene what?
I'm a certified senior crime scene analyst.
Okay. And how many of those are there in a state?
A dozen.
Don't brag or nothing. Hey, we'll be back. We'll be back in about 10 seconds, and I want you to think about what to do. What should our victims do if they're a victim of a crime before we respond?
More of The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty with Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell coming up on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Asheville native Kanan Cox will be performing at Kane Center for the Arts Friday, August 25th. Show starts at 8 p.m. Kane Center for the Arts 2024 Fall Season. Buy your tickets now at kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Happy birthday, Huntersville! Celebrate Huntersville's 150th birthday this Saturday. Primal in Huntersville will have live music, food trucks, and special deals all day on August 26th. Huntersville is 150 years old, and you should celebrate at Primal off of Highway 115 in Huntersville. It is one of the last couple of weeks to enjoy open swim at the Kerrigan Farms Quarry. Thursday, August 31st is the end of the swim season at Kerrigan Farms Quarry. Swim up an appetite with the whole family and enjoy Kerrigan Farms Farm-to-Table Restaurant. Kerrigan Farms open swim at the quarry. Enjoy it before the end of August. Love cycling? Love supporting veterans? Purple Heart Homes presents Take That Hill. Sign-ups are open now. The event is Saturday, October 7th. It is a great way to support a local organization focused on veterans. Take That Hill, presented by Purple Heart Homes. For more info, visit bikesignup.com. Eli Yacinth Band is playing this Friday, August 25th at the Upper Room in downtown Statesville. Enjoy a great show with a full 9-person band. Have a full night of jazz music with the Eli Yacinth Band, Friday night at the Upper Room in downtown Statesville. Have an event you'd like to tell people about? Yard sales, estate sales, and everything in between? Visit WSICnews.com and click on events to submit your event today.
I'm Nick Rice with your WSIC forecast. As we head through the rest of the afternoon, it's going to stay sunny with a high in the mid-80s. Tonight, mostly clear, low of 65. On Thursday, it's going to be sunny with a high of 92. Thursday night, partly cloudy, low around 70. On Friday, it's going to be sunny and hot with a high of 95 expected. I'm Nick Rice from WSIC's Weather Center.
It's The Good, the Bad, and the Guilty with Iredell County Sheriff Darren Campbell on the new 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
So I just get this spooky music feeling out of this, like Haunted Mansion on at the movie theaters or something.
Are we going to do that at Halloween too?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like that. Yeah.
Then it has somebody scream and we'll all pass out in here.
some noises,
On the
squeaky
Don't
noises.
say Halloween. We've got to start buying candy soon.
Yeah, the trunkard, the sheriff's spooktacular. Sheriff's spooktacular.
Hey, that I gotta say that is a cool. That's fun.
That's a lot of fun.
When you see them lined up for blocks away, blocks down the road,
all the way up past that tower, down the
yeah. They turn and come in.
So we might not have bought enough candy.
Well, yeah, good talking. Exactly. That's just right around the corner. Fair's next week, so we don't want to start talking about that too soon either. Welcome back, folks, in studio here with the sheriff, Darren Campbell, along with Captain Randy Horton, and we got just officer today, Sergeant soon. Maybe. Detective Holly Eldridge with our crime scene investigation. I'm Captain Matt. I get to do all the fun stuff around the office. So, Sheriff left us with a great question. And he talked about what to do when you're a victim of a crime. So don't answer yet. If you want to call in, that's fine. But don't answer yet. Be thinking about that. We're going to come back to that. If you're a victim of a crime, what do you think you should do? We're going to give you those tips. But during the break, Captain Horton, we were talking about some of your specific equipment, some of those gadgets, go gadget stuff. And I know that our last Citizens Academy, you brought out this cool little instrument. It was a forensic scope.
Yes,
yeah.
forensic.
I even got to touch it.
It's a CSI smartphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It literally kind of looks like a phone.
Right.
Because part of it is a Samsung phone, but then it has special lenses on it. And so used to when we wanted to take a picture on a crime scene of a fingerprint, you'd have to get out a tripod, you have to get out your special 35 millimeter camera, big long lens, go through all this procedure. And, this is after you've already dusted it and you've got it where you can see it, but you need to put in a scale, you need to take photos from different angles, you got to do all that. Don't have to do all that anymore. We lay it on top of it, we press a button. It's that simple.
Now,
it puts a scale in there. It has different varying lengths of, wavelengths of light. It could even, which it's a little overkill. We don't do that.
You should have never asked this question about Randy's forensics.
It's exciting, though. I mean, I've got a question. I've got a follow-up question.
It's TV cool. It's TV level cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
So you can even have it to go ahead and, if you want to pay for it, we don't bother doing this. It's crazy. Have it to go ahead and transmit it back to the APHIS computer.
That was my question.
Back at the lab.
I was going to ask you that.
And it can already be running it while you're on the way back.
Yeah, exactly. And if we could just have this phone, call the bad guy and say, come on down, turn yourself in.
Yeah, that'd be
we got
great.
your print.
Which we have done that working on call the phone back before. Holly, what do you have to say about that?
I think it's a great tool to have. It's kind of helping us move into a more up-to-date era where the technology is advancing, and we get the chance to do that, and we can start to be able to process these scenes better and quicker and use that technology to our advantage.
See, Randy, that's how you answer that question.
Well, there's also the CSI phone.
I'm just messing with you. So what other, I do know the forensic scope. I do know there's a lot of stuff because I remember putting that when we was looking at that. But there's a lot of other things, technology that here on a local level you would not think that we have that capability to handle. For other agencies, there again, I mean, they may choose to send off the FBI and wait 15 months. That's the choice, but the availability is here, and we have the capability to do it.
And the other thing is, even if it's something that's possibly out of our realm where we can do the complete testing, let's say it's hair fiber analysis or DNA. Well, we talked about sending off stuff to the state lab. Well, if you send it off to the state lab and someone dropped a toboggan at a break-in, okay? Well, if you send it to the state lab, first you're going to have to send it to evidence intake. Well, then you're going to have to send it to hair and trace. So they're going to have to go through it and look for the hairs and the fibers and stuff on it, which is a whole separate section from DNA. So it's got to wait the however many months they're backed up just to get them to look at it, remove the hairs, properly package them, do all that. Then it's got to go to the next section, which is, DNA. If we can do portions of that, even if we don't do all of it, let's say I go ahead and use the equipment we have, remove all those hairs, properly package them, we can skip that trace section and speed up the process by 3, 4, 5, 6 months, send it straight on to DNA. So even though we don't have our own in-house DNA lab, we've still cut the time frame in half because we were able to do half of it in-house.
And that's important. Cool. That's a lot of training that it takes. I mean, I know patrol guys, we know plastic for certain items and paper otherwise, just like going to Walmart or grocery store. Paper or plastic.
Sure.
That's something you need to know if you're collecting, bagging certain evidence. But you guys go far and above.
We have.
And you like your stickers as well.
Oh, I love stickers. And that's
Mhm.
for the ladies over in property and evidence. So
Mhm.
we're not trying to, whoops, we accidentally poisoned them or, something.
Because
So-
there's a lot of bad stuff you deal with.
There's
I
a
mean,
lot
we're
of
talking
bad
about bodily
stuff.
fluids, we're talking about chemicals.
Fentanyl.
Oh, wow, yeah, fentanyl.
Yeah,
Mhm.
fentanyl. I mean, we've done fentanyl testing over in the lab.
But it's good. It's also good educationally. It's good to have our newer officers that even rookie officers, but some of those going through FTO that comes into situations that that may not know what they're being exposed to as a first line responder. But when a crime scene, there's a lot of that education side, what to look for next time, and how they handle crime scenes, because
there is
crime scenes are big.
And our FTO program, you've included these guys. They go over. You're an FTO. You're field training these guys. So our rookie officers or our new officers into the agency get an opportunity to go and see what you do at a crime scene and
They
collect
do,
that. Yeah.
and we spend 8 hours with each one of those new
Mhm,
ones, teaching them. I mean, they've already had some of it in BLET, but we show them more about DNA collection, swabbing, fingerprinting, just to make sure that they're doing the stuff right. If they feel that it's not necessary to call us,
right,
or if there's not one of us available because we're on multiple scenes.
Well, listen, before we wrap up, say your house has been broken into,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of people call me a lot of times. What should be once you get there and you see your home's broken into? Obviously, make sure you're safe and nobody's there. But
I want to answer the first part.
Go ahead.
I've never thought about that, but I mean, this is important. You get and see your house broken into. Don't go in and start looking around. Let us do that because the bad guy might still
and
be
I understand
there.
that's hard for people to
Right.
understand. And,
Yeah.
and if you get in there and you find out something's happened, because a lot of people come in, they just go to the bedroom and they see what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. What should they do, Randy, as far as crime scene? Or Holly, either one.
Go ahead, Holly, you take it.
Oh, try to touch as little as possible.
Don't touch.
It's normal and it's a natural instinct to want to try to start going and looking for things, sentimental items or a gun or something that you might have. The first thing you might want to do is go grab something to protect yourself in case somebody is still in the home. But the more surfaces that we don't have to worry about any contamination with or any more so, it's your home. There's going to be, your fingerprints and things like that throughout the house. But if we can minimize the exposure to you wiping off or destroying a suspect print, that is ideal.
And there could be blood there from where they cut their hand on something that you may not know of. And because we understand you want to look, but we also want to try to track the person down through the forensic side of it to get the right person, therefore trying to get your stuff back that much faster.
And Holly's been a superstar lately with some blood on different cases that she's worked. I know for a fact, without going into it because it's a pending case, we have a homicide case that some of the blood evidence that Holly discovered and was able to test is probably going to be some of the key evidence that actually probably be one of the top evidentiary things towards getting a conviction when it comes time to court.
That's great. That's great. So,
and again, even if nothing is missing, your home was still broken into. A crime is still getting committed.
Correct.
Help us to help out maybe other victims on your street that did have things missing. When you report that, report it by calling us, making a report on the app. Let us know you're a victim. We can take that evidence in that situation as well.
And I think to echo what Holly says, some people, you may see something that the window's broke. They come in. You may not see the little piece of pipe that they used to break it with. You may not see the old glove that was through to the side. So that's something that you all are trained to look for.
Nothing is better than broken glass when it comes to fingerprints, or glass or broken glass. Many scenes have I responded to, and when we got there, or even patrol got there, the homeowner is cleaning up the glass, sweeping up the glass, picking up the pieces, that type thing. And that's the worst thing that they could do.
And we understand. We do understand when something like that's happened to you. So, what other pointers could you give to have if you're, it could be home, it could be tragic event, it could be anything you come up upon somewhere. Or, a lot of different.
Not so much necessarily from a crime scene standpoint, but one of the things we see, especially now, it's going to start winding down a little bit, but is car break-ins. Try to lock your doors. Don't leave the laptop. Don't leave your purse laying in the front seat. When we get these, and
here's the best one: the garage door opener over the visor. When you shut your garage door, but you leave the
house door open,
correct? Because you know that is locked. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these, when Matt was talking earlier about the strings of car break-ins in neighborhoods and stuff like that. Historically, over the last few years, it's typically folks out of our Charlotte Mecklenburg area that come up here and commit these crimes. But they move on to the next car that's unlocked. So that's one thing that I would stress more than anything else.
Well, we've only got a few minutes. Matt, if you want to give the points out, at least for the roundup or the recent drug investigation, we confirmed the Facebook, but I think we had 13 individuals arrested in an ongoing investigation.
Yes, that is correct. 13 suspects have been charged in an ongoing investigation. This is the drug information that you have provided, whether it be through the app, whether it be calling, emailing us, letting us know through your neighborhood, getting the word out. But we've got some pretty serious charges. These are all felony charges: cocaine, Schedule II controlled substance, intent to sell and deliver more Schedule II controlled substance. Guys, we're on top of it as much as we can do, but we can't do it without you.
And these are all somebody that participated in the sale of drugs or facilitated the drugs to sell to an undercover.
And one of the scenes that you can see on Facebook is drugs and guns. So
it's on there. So
yeah, exactly.
And we will see you next Wednesday at 3:00. Look forward, and we'll see you then.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad traits?